I loved my husband more than life at the time. It was the reason I ran with him when he told me to and never looked back. We had gotten married a year prior to our escape, but were already experiencing issues. He always acted like I wasn't the only person on his mind, and it pained me to no end. Deep down, I knew there was another woman, but that's okay now. Alex had stayed out that night, the third time that week. I couldn't sleep those nights. I just sat on the deck and watched the dew set on the yard, the leaves blow in the trees, and the city animals pounce around. It was raining when he came charging into the driveway. He almost hit the garage door before slamming on the brakes and stumbling out.
Get in the house, Steph!
He yelled to me through his slurring words. I tried asking him what was going on, but he just pushed by me through the doors. He began sprinting as he made his way up the stairs and into our bedroom. "What's going on?" I cried to him. I had never seen him like this. I was scared. He pushed his head around the door and looked at me from the top of the stairs.
Listen, honey, we need to pack up. Don't take a lot, just the stuff you can't live without. We need to be quick.
I ran into the bedroom to see clothing spread all over the floor. He had a garbage bag on the bed and was shoving as many things as he could inside it. Looking back now, it was perhaps the dumbest thing I ever did, but I was blind with love and would have done anything to stay with him, so I did. I started throwing drawers onto the floor and rifling through them in haste. The next thing I knew, we were on the road, our lives behind us. Alex had finally chosen me. It was all I could think. I was young and stupid, and it showed. We drove for hours, neither of us saying a single word. The atmosphere was so fresh, I never wanted it to break, but the rising sun on the horizon brought me back to reality. Blood stained the shirt under his jacket and his hands were shaking. Remember when I said I was young and stupid? I ignored it. I never asked him. After the long drive, we stopped at his cottage up north, and the two of us lived in a fantasy world for 3 amazing years. Over the time, we had become closer than ever before, sharing every moment with each other, and it was admittedly the best years of my life. No police ever came to our doors, and when I couldn't stop myself from checking the news, I saw nothing. But I probably wouldn't have even cared. I was with my man, and he was with me. There was a small town a few minutes away that we both worked at. Alex cooked in a rundown diner, and I served there. On our second year there, the owner offered to sell the diner to us, so we bought it. Every night, the two of us would clean the entire place and giggle to ourselves as we sat together in the booth. We were deeply in love. One week, I stayed home sick. I lightheartedly remembered when I used to wait for Alex to come home, joking to myself about how this wasn't much different. Alex arrived early the first night saying he missed me, and we spooned on the bed until the sun came up. In the morning, he told me he had to stay at work the whole day, and he said he loved me. That night, the feeling of years before resurfaced inside me as I waited for him. Once I heard the door open, I ran downstairs to greet him, but he wasn't there. The door was just open. The dark driveway sat vacant in the cold night. I closed the door and sat on the couch. He'd be home soon anyways. When he did arrive a few minutes later, I told him what happened. He said sometimes he woke up to it ajar as well, and thought it needed fixing. This happened every night that week, but once I got back to work, it stopped. A month later, I had to stay home one day to tend to our garden. We didn't have the best burgers in town with store-bought tomatoes. In the afternoon, there was a light knock at the entrance. I had just sat down to take a break, but promptly got up to see who it was. I opened the door to see a little boy standing on the other side. He wore outdated clothing and had very short haircut.
"Does Alex Vismas live here?"
He asked me with a red-cheeked smile. "Yes?" I looked around for a car in the driveway, expecting to see his parents inside, closely watching him, but there was no one. "How did you get here? Are you lost?"
"No, ma'am."
He abruptly walked into the house.
"Is he home?"
Being a little boy, no older than 5, I wasn't really alarmed by his lack of manners. "No, sorry. This is an awfully long way to walk to see him. Do you need help getting back to town?"
"Do you mind if I wait for him? I really wanted to see him."
He pouted, but spoke with surprising sophistication for a child. "I guess not. Do you want anything to drink?" I felt myself carefully speaking to the boy.
"I'm okay, ma'am."
"All right." I was suspicious of how well the child spoke. "I'll give him a ring. Maybe he can come out for lunch."
"That would be great."
The two of us sat on the porch waiting for Alex to come over. On the phone I told him some kid just appeared, and probably was the child of a regular who got lost, but I was sorely wrong. On the porch I asked the little boy who he was.
"I think Alex is my father. Well, my mother says he is."
I wasn't really shocked. I knew there was another woman. Over the 3 years, I had come to forgive Alex and accept the thoughts. If he had a child with another woman, that was all right. I could handle it. That's just how good our life was. Well, okay, I was a bit mad at Alex, but not nearly as much as any other woman would have been. That was why when he called to say he couldn't make it home for lunch, I didn't tell him the little boy was his son. I wanted him to get the surprise. He deserved that at least. Thomas insisted to stay with me until Alex got home. and I didn't have a problem with that. Me and the little boy sat on the sofa and chatted for a good time. He was extremely polite, and I even felt like I was chatting to an adult, or at least someone a few years older than him. Alex apparently sent money monthly to him and his mother out of respect, and they used the return address to find him. It was around 9 at night when I saw headlights flicker through the trees. I felt excitement building up as Alex stepped out of the car. He walked inside and took his coat off, hanging it on the rack.
I'm home, Steph. Where's the little kid that wants to meet me?
He laughed. I was starting to feel bad not telling him who the boy was. It was definitely going to ruin his night, and I didn't want to fight afterwards, but I was in too deep. I was about to yell over to Alex, letting him know that we were in the living room when I heard Thomas speak.
Hello, Alex.
He spoke so slowly and calmly, it was almost sinister. I got up and walked into the hall to introduce the boy. I hurried as I heard no more noise. The image of them staring at each other in silence as Alex struggled to find the words worried me. I didn't want to be this cruel. As I made my way into the hall, I saw Alex standing still, his face pale. Thomas walked by and out the door. "Thomas, where are you going?" I called to the boy about to walk into the forest.
It's okay. My mother's just outside.
He called back with a warm smile, and then closed the door behind him. Well, that was weird. I elbowed Alex back into existence.
Yeah.
Alex spoke with the enthusiasm of a corpse. I checked outside to make sure Thomas wasn't lying, but he was gone, so I assumed his mother was really there, even though how weird that was. It took Alex a good hour to start talking to me again. When I told him who Thomas was, he sheepishly laughed it off, saying we shouldn't talk about it. He had been through enough that day, so I let it be. That night, I could tell he wasn't sleeping. Cold sweat soaked the sheets and seeped through into the mattress. There was almost a literal puddle before the silence broke. It was the front door opening.
Hello, Alex.
I heard Thomas call into the house with that same sinister tone. Alex went dead still. I thought he was having a heart attack. I was scared a bit too. Then, under his breath, I could hear him talking to himself, ever so softly.
No.
Not as terrified as Alex, I slowly got out of bed and made my way to the bedroom door.
No!
Alex screamed at me as I touched the doorknob. I was concerned about what was going on, but not enough to ignore the child in the night. He's probably just lost. We can drive him back to town.
No!
His voice cracked.
Hello, Alex. Just one question.
The boy called back into the house. Alex jumped up and pushed me away from the door. He was already holding a baseball bat that I didn't even know he owned.
Hello, Alex. Why did you kill my mother?
His face contorted to those words. My heart was pounding, and quickly emotion took over. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but it made sense in some sick way. What did you do, Alex? I looked up at him, afraid.
She wouldn't leave me alone, honey.
He pleaded with me, pushing his back against the door.
I had to do it. She would have ruined everything. But
It's over, Alex. Get away from the door. I spoke far more calmly than I was.
But I thought I killed him too.
He opened the door and ran out. I walked back in dismay and sat on the bed. I could hear every step Alex made, almost as if the world was in slow motion. He ran down the hall, then down the stairs. I counted each step, the pounding of each foot, the yell of his voice, and then silence. I used the phone beside the bed to call the police, and only once they swore there was nothing downstairs did I leave that room. They were right, though. There was nothing. No sign of Alex or Thomas, just an empty house. They never found him either.